Look at this place. It's really come together over the last few episodes, and I'd say it's almost finished, you know? I mean, have a look at this. Finished, 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 finished. Oh yeah, the brick factory. The current eyesore of the Beta Lake area. I do love the look of this building, but unfortunately, there's just no clay anywhere to be found in my world. I think this is a combination of me not wanting to generate too many new chunks, as well as the fact that clay is incredibly rare, even more rare than diamonds, at least up until Beta 1.7. But you know, there must be a way of getting some bricks. Let me think about this. Nope. Can't think of anything. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Minecraft The Journey with me, bugmancx, and here we are at the piston duplicating machine which we finished off in the last episode, and this magic device allows us to put just about any block in the game right here on this red square, and these pistons will duplicate it for us. But to be honest, I'm not really all that keen on duping items within the game. I'm keen to explore those mechanics, but I don't want to abuse them, you know? But there are certain situations, and I'm looking over here at the brick factory, where, I don't know, I might just embellish a little bit and duplicate a few bricks and finish that off. And there are reasons for that, and I want to talk about why. The first is because we're nearing the end of Minecraft Beta, and when we finish up Minecraft Beta, I want this area to be pretty much complete. But right now, this building here, yeah, it's very much incomplete. I'm just looking inside here. Nothing. One of the reasons we've not found any clay for such a long time is for two main reasons. One, I don't really like going out and generating too many new chunks unless I really need to, because otherwise this world is going to be humongous and unwieldy later on. Another reason is because since Beta 1.6, clay generation is incredibly rare. Now, it was already pretty rare up until Beta 1.6, but when we reached Beta 1.6, there was a bug introduced which made it even more rare than diamonds. You see, the natural generation requirements for clay is that it'll sometimes generate around sand, but for some reason since Beta 1.6, it would only ever generate around sand as long as the X and Z coordinates were the same. This made it so stupendously rare you would basically never find it. Zerpa posted about this on Reddit, and in their world, which was made up of 8,294 chunks, they only managed to find 3 small patches. So yeah, that's pretty rare. Notch saw that post and considered doing a fix, which, if he did, would have meant that we would have had a Beta 1.6.7, but instead, he decided to hold off and leave that fix for Beta 1.7 instead. Alright, let's do it! I'm just going to nab that one brick block right here. This is a bit like going into the lottery, right? We just invest one brick block and we end up with millions upon millions of them. Or at least just enough to finish that anyway. So let's head over here to the duplication machine and get ourselves rolling. Now what we need to do is set up the machine first. We need to give it some power, like so. Break the power and take some redstone and replace that wire, but we need to do it faster because that was too slow. There we go. Create our clock and let's stick it in. Oh, off we go. Okay, this is glorious. Now if I stand down at the end here with my pickaxe, as soon as they reach me here, I can just stand up in front of them and... Oh, I didn't think of this. I forgot how slow the bricks are to mine. I guess this is the penalty for using this machine, right? This is going to take me forever. Change of plan instead. I've come out here looking for clay. Some of these are pre-generated chunks. I might go out and generate some new ones. Hey, what is this? This looks like a portal to the Shadowlands. Ooh. I'm getting out of here. Oh, yes! Jackpot! I didn't even have to travel too far. Look where I am. I'm at 497 minus 265. I just head off in whatever direction this is. North, I think. And these are probably pre-generated chunks, but I've just never stepped foot in them before, so... I'm going to collect all of this. Oh, I'm really pleased with that haul, and I'm so glad I didn't even have to generate too many new chunks to get it. Is that more clay? That looks like it could be more clay. I don't know. We'll go and check it out. But that last little clip reminded me of something that was added in Beta 1.7, which I haven't mentioned before, and that is a new addition to the F3 debug screen. Just let me get up here and we'll have a look at what's going on. No, it's just water. What a disappointment. Anyway, it's okay. So here I am. I am currently facing west. The brain has sun setting in the west as the instinct. This is the south because the sun is setting in the south. If I press F3, see how we have this new thing. We have our X, Y, and Z coordinates, and then all of a sudden we have F, and F stands for facing. So right now I am facing in direction 0. This way I'm facing direction 1, 2, 3, and then back to 0. So I guess we need to go south. What's after south? I'm all discombobulated. North, east, south, west directions. Okay, so west is 1, etc. You get the point. But now there's an easy way to check which direction you're facing. You don't even need to bring a compass. You don't even need to look at the sun. You can just bring up F3 and figure it out that way. Kind of disappointing, really. We probably shouldn't be using the F3 screen. Well, from a distance, it's looking pretty different. In fact, you can kind of see the moire effect going on when I move my mouse around like that. Because of the type of texture that the brick is, it's very detailed, and also just the way that this game renders its graphics, kind of making that effect happen. Very, very strange. But let's head over there and take a bit of a closer look at it. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it, although this was not without its challenges. For example, just the style of building that this is. When they're constructed like this, maybe a 1920s style brick factory, they're very, very flat. The walls are very, very flat, so there's not very much opportunity to texturize and give it a bit of character or anything like that. Unfortunately, those walls are just going to have to be that flat. So I did try and do this a little bit here and there around the windows. I also tried to change up some of the brick textures here and there to try and give a sense of maybe the bricks being broken up in certain little areas, or a little bit of crumbling bricks or something like that. But again, unfortunately, very, very difficult. If it was modern Minecraft, what I would do here is use some stairs and some slabs and give, a couple of little different texture shapes here and there. But because all of the blocks in this game pretty much are just big cubes, it's very, very difficult. So I tried the netherrack. Now, the netherrack I'm not really sure about because it is a very, very different red to the rest of the brick. But it does help to break up the texture a little bit, so I've really used it sparingly in this particular build. Over here you can see that I've used dirt as well, and I just discovered this one along the way. But dirt, I think, actually looks pretty good from a distance. It blends pretty well with the brick, and again, it just helps to break up the texture that little bit more. Over here as well, I've blended in a little bit of cobblestone in just this section here, maybe because, again, it helps to break up the texture a little bit and gives it a sense of age, a little bit of a sense of age anyway. I would love some ideas about how I might be able to unflatten some of this, but again, very difficult. The roof bits can't really extend over the edge because that goes against the style. Yeah, so I'm not really sure. Let's have a little look inside because I haven't finished the inside yet, but I can say that there's quite a bit of room for us to do some work. And I don't think I've ever been inside here on camera. So welcome to the inside of the brick factory. This here is a placeholder for a giant kiln that I was thinking of having in the corner here. And this would be, of course, where we convert clay into bricks. This is like a giant pizza oven, really, but I think in reality, you probably wouldn't have them this huge in a real brick factory. They'd probably be smaller and more concentrated, but hey, it's Minecraft. We can do whatever we want. And of course, because we do have a very tall building, we have two levels, the upper level and the lower level, and I still have to figure out what I'm going to do on all the interior, so I'm not really sure how all of this will look at the end of the process. One other thing I wanted to mention is you might have noticed in the time-lapse that I filled all of these roof eaves here with bricks, and that was actually a mistake on my part. I did this so long ago that I had forgotten that I wanted to make all of these glass for two reasons. One, again, because it is the style. You would have found this in buildings of this type back in the day to let the light into the building and keep it all bright. And that is actually the second reason too, because as we know, enclosed builds in early Minecraft are very, very dark, and I do like to let my natural light in. So overall, I'm pretty pleased. Got to finish that bit off there, but we're going to do the kiln first, and then we'll finish off that little part of the building, because it's actually very hard for me to demonstrate here, but this kiln should have a chimney, and now the way that this kiln is shaped is that the chimney will probably end up being right on the corner of the building, weirdly enough, but there should be a chimney going up the back corner here, and I think that'll look interesting, especially considering it'll probably be a square. Some time has now passed, and look at that. We have a chimney. It's pretty big and pretty tall, but from a distance, it looks pretty good. So let's pop back down here and have a look at the inside, shall we? Because, again, I've been doing a little bit of work in here. As we can see, it's come to life quite a bit. Let's start over here with the kiln. Now, this thing is huge, and I think that in reality, you wouldn't see a kiln quite this big normally. But, this is here to mass produce some bricks, so size is important. Anyway, if we have a look inside, you can see we've got some fire going here, and you probably would put the bricks up here and bake them, I suppose. Now, up there is a chimney, which you can see, which I mentioned from the outside. Actually, I do need to fix that, I've just noticed, because that part there, the bricks you can see protruding through, are actually the chimney, and I didn't think about that, how to bring it into the inside, so I'll have a look at that in between. But behind me here, you can just see all sorts of little things going on in the Brickworks here. So we've got a pallet full of slabs, because I figure this place could also produce stone and stone slabs. We've got some bricks here, which are probably just cooling down or something. Some furnaces here as well to smelt up some clay or into bricks to then be baked or something like that, We have some lava because, maybe here we are also doing a bit of ironmongery or some glass blowing or something, the sort of thing that you would find in a building like this. There's also this extraction pipe work here, Imagine this is where all the smoke and the fumes are, and they just get sucked up through this and then make their way out into the atmosphere, just like all good pollution should, right? And over here we have just a bit of extra storage, and we also have a pallet of clay here. And upstairs, there's not too much extra upstairs, but we do have a little bit of a breakout area. We have some chests over here to store some things in, and also we have the site manager's office. Little place here where the site manager can observe what's going on, check to make sure everything is going to plan and there are no fires or crises or anything like that going on inside the Brickworks. But you know, I feel like an interior really does help bring a building to life. I've always said it's so hard to do in Minecraft Beta because look, this is just what you've got to work with. But you stretch your imagination a bit and you can make a place feel that little bit more alive, a little bit more lived in. You know, Minecraft's biggest group of testers are its players, and every time a version comes out, there are always new and interesting bugs that get found by the community, including just this little quirky one here. In beta 1.7_01, there was a door particle texture glitch which happened, which meant that whenever you interacted with the door and generated particles, instead of displaying broken up particles that are part of the door texture, it would display that purple texture that we've seen before when there's no texture assigned. So let's see if I can make this happen. And all I need to do is just punch the door a little bit. No, that didn't work. But sometimes it depends on the orientation and other stuff. There, look at that. You can see purple particles are being emitted from the door. I don't want to break it, but can we do it again? There we go. Purple particles. How weird. And I think if I just break the door, the normal particles happen. I don't really know what happened to cause that bug to occur, but it did. Well, before we wrap up today, I've come out into the wilderness because I want to do a little experiment with ice blocks. And as you can see, I've set one up here in front of a piston. And I've had to come all the way out here to do this because you can't currently obtain ice blocks, so you have to come out into the wild. So I had to get rid of all of the ice blocks around it just to make this little area. Now what happens here is that as a piston pushes an ice block, it interacts with it a little bit strangely. In fact, let me just get myself a lever and we can have a look at exactly what happens. If I place it right there and then activate the lever, look at that. Did you see that? First, we saw some liquid water appear just for a moment, and then the ice block got pushed, and then the piston head disappeared. Is it there? No, I can walk right through here and it's almost, well, I think it has disappeared. Or has it? Because look what happens when I retract the piston. It reappears, but unfortunately, the piston is back to normal now because it can't reach this ice block, so there's nothing else for it to do. Let me just swap that out with a sticky piston and we'll see what happens with that one. So if I change that, can I do this? Yes, it will let me. Thank you, game, for being good. Okay, well, there's enough room. There's enough room. Let's put another lever there and see what happens. Same thing. We saw the liquid block appear here momentarily, and then the ice block here. Still no piston head either. But because it's a sticky piston, it should be able to grab the ice block and pull it back. So let's have a look. And it did. And look what else happened. It left a water source behind. I guess the game is kind of doing its block updates in the wrong sequence here, and it's created a water source block because it's seen the ice block as being broken, when in fact it hasn't broken, it's just been pulled back into this space. So there's a fascinating little piston bug. I'm not sure when that gets fixed, certainly not in the next couple of versions. It'll probably be fixed at some point in the future, but I thought that was very interesting to look at. You know, it just occurred to me, can we leave the piston in its broken state? Now, if I extend this again, we can see that the piston head has disappeared like we saw. But what happens if I break this block? Look at that. We absolutely get a broken piston. Now, it's a real shame that I have no way of doing that in my current build area because I could definitely incorporate that into a build somehow. But I think all we can do right now is just leave this as it is and then observe it over time. We'll come out here again in the future and see if the piston head has returned. Before we finish up today, I thought we could do a couple of magic tricks because who doesn't love magic tricks, right? But to understand what's going on, we need to understand a little bit about how redstone power transmits. And don't worry, it's really straightforward. Here we have a redstone wire. You can see it's going out of this lever and then up here on top of these two blocks. And when I turn it on, we can see that the wire gets powered. Now, normally I wouldn't be able to power anything down, say, down here. Let's just place a block and I'll put a trapdoor here and a trapdoor here. And if I repower this circuit, you'll see that only the top trapdoor receives any kind of power at all. So if I turn that back off again, they're so annoying, aren't they? Let's just get rid of these two trapdoors, which is going to take a moment because, you know, that's just how the game works, sadly. There we go. Okay, now what happens if I use a piston? Well, if I put a piston down and then do the same thing with the circuit, of course, it doesn't power up because there's no way for that signal to reach this piston. However, if I turn the circuit off, let's just get rid of this piston. Actually, I need to turn the circuit on. If I turn the circuit on and there's no piston here, now look what happens when I place one down. What? As if by magic, this is somehow receiving signal from this piece of dust, I assume. But that's not all. This thing is in a powered state, and it shouldn't be. If I just remove these blocks, you can see exactly what I mean. There's no longer any current making its way to that piston, but it's still got its head extended. It's still powered up with nothing connected. Mysterious. So this is what's more commonly known as quasi-connectivity, and it affects only certain types of blocks in the game like dispensers, droppers, and pistons. And I'm not really sure exactly what use it has in redstone circuits, but it definitely does. People do use this mechanic, and it originally was thought to be a bug, but it's been recognized as a property of the piston and similar block types like it, that it's now just part of redstone mechanics. I wouldn't pretend to understand exactly what this would be good for in terms of a redstone circuit because I'm just not that well versed in redstone, but apparently it is useful to some people in some situations. Well, my final trick today is definitely a bug, and this one will definitely get fixed as well. And all I need to do it is to have a sticky piston, a piece of redstone, and put a block on top. And what I can do with this piece of magic is I can duplicate this redstone torch infinitely. This has to happen only in an east-west directional configuration. As we know, this is the south because that's where the sun sets. That is the north, of course. So this trick will only work in this direction or in this direction. And in order to do this, all I need to do is place my redstone torch on this block on top of the sticky piston, and look at that. The game has mysteriously split the redstone torch into two, and of course, I can do this as many times as I want and get as many redstone torches as I'll ever need, but where's the fun in that? It's only as fun as exploring this mechanic, but I think this is just a little fun one. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this episode today, and I'm so glad we finally got the Brickworks done. We're calling it the Brickworks because that's what they're technically called. And of course, exploring more interesting behavior to do with the pistons like this one here. I do love it when they add a new feature and you can have a lot of interesting fun with its quirks and bugs. And if you know any other interesting bugs related to the pistons, I'd be happy to have a look at them. I'm always interested in exploring quirky Minecraft bugs. But that'll have to do it for today. So again, I want to say thank you for watching, and an extra special thank you to my patrons who are supporting me. You can do the same just by following the links in the description below. There are also links down there to my Discord and other stuff. So until the next episode, this has been bugmancx. You've been watching Minecraft The Journey. Bye-bye.